Canada's losing over 500 million a day. The Port of Vancouver strike is heading into its 11th day. This is starting to get pretty serious if you're Canadian. So let's do a little backstory on the strike. Before we start, please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for my channel. I upload videos on financial tips and financial comedy in my shorts. So if you want to get some financial tips about finance or get a good laugh, your support via a subscribe is always appreciated. Now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. So in early June of this year, 99.24% of ILWU membership voted in favor of a strike. That's after their last contract ended March 30th of this year. So who's ILWU? They're known as the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, which is a major union that represents dock workers on the west coast of Canada, west coast of US, and Hawaii. On June of 28th of this year, they issued a 72-hour strike notice for the Port of Vancouver, stating bad working conditions, low wages, and employers demanding quote-unquote major concessions despite during COVID posting record profits. It's also seeking to protect members from erosion of work stemming from outside contract work or port automation. Now, why is this a big deal? First of all, Port of Vancouver handles about 25 to 30% of all exports and imports for Canada. We're talking about $350 billion worth of goods each year. Every day that the strike continues costs the Canadian economy over $500 million. This has massive implications on the Canadian economy. Lots of stuff that we take for granted, electronics, apparels, food, comes from Asia. The longer the strike persists, the more likelihood we'll be seeing shortages of items on shelves of retailers. Remember when COVID happened and people went on a massive shopping spree to hoard necessities? We might be seeing that again. To prevent massive storage, what retailers do is that they usually keep an average of 5 weeks of inventory supply. This works under normal circumstances, but with the port strike not ending and the buying frenzy that might be coming, 5 weeks of inventory supply might not be enough, and we might be seeing empty shelves at retailers. Companies are actually also looking to temporarily lay off workers. When there's no freight to be handled at warehouses and distribution centers, companies are forced to cut costs and lay off staff. This would also affect the truck drivers of Canada. Over 300,000 Canadians will see their hours and work reduced because of the strike, and most likely the price of goods will go up. During COVID, we saw stuff like air conditioners, computer parts, or even food prices go up due to the lack of supply. Expect that to happen again. So what can you do during this time? I would stock up on necessities, perhaps enough for a month or two, because even after the port strike ends, it would take weeks for the supply chain to get back to normal. I'm also expecting that the Canadian stocks will fall in the near future. More than $500 million lost on the Canadian economy on a daily basis. It's hard to imagine that in the near future it's not going to be reflected on the stock market, especially when the large retailers will be forecasting low sales and people temporarily losing work. So should you sell stocks? I mean, if you're invested in blue chip stocks and indexes, you're most likely in it for the long run, so I wouldn't bother. But you know what is important? Keep it an emergency fund in your savings account just in case your job is affected. Yeah, that's it for today. Please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for financial tips in my long form content and financial comedy in my shorts.